Illegal immigration has been a hot topic in the United States for years, sparking endless debates. In this video, we'll explore why people from these countries migrate illegally, who they are, and how it impacts U.S. immigration policies. So, here's the list of the top 10 countries sending illegal immigrants to the U.S. But before we begin, don't forget to subscribe and drop your thoughts in the comments. Let's get started. Number 1. Mexico has long been the top source of illegal immigration to the United States. In 2022, around 4 million undocumented Mexican immigrants lived in the U.S., making up 37% of the total unauthorized population. This is a sharp drop from past years when Mexicans made up more than half of all undocumented immigrants. Why do they come? Several key factors continue to drive migration from Mexico. Economic struggles. Many Mexicans leave due to poverty, unemployment, and low wages, seeking better opportunities in the U.S. Violence and crime. Widespread violence, especially from drug cartels and organized crime, forces many to flee for safety. Family reunification. A large number of Mexican immigrants have relatives already in the U.S., making migration more appealing. Recent trends. The decline in Mexican immigration is linked to several changes, including Mexico's improving economy, stricter U.S. border enforcement, and shifts in migrant demographics. Still, despite this drop, Mexico remains a major contributor to illegal immigration in the U.S. Number 2. El Salvador. As of 2022, nearly 750,000 undocumented immigrants from El Salvador were living in the U.S. This number has been steadily rising as more Salvadorans flee their homeland due to extreme hardships. El Salvador's struggles with violence, poverty, and political instability have forced many to seek safety and stability in the U.S. The main reasons include gang violence. With one of the world's highest homicide rates, gang-related violence is rampant. Many young people are pressured to join gangs or face deadly consequences. Economic struggles. High unemployment and a lack of job opportunities make it difficult for many Salvadorans to build a stable future. Natural disasters. Frequent earthquakes and hurricanes have destroyed homes, businesses, and infrastructure, making life even harder. The role of U.S. policies. U.S. immigration policies have also played a major role in Salvadoran migration. Programs like temporary protected status have allowed many to stay in the U.S. legally due to unsafe conditions back home. However, shifting political decisions continue to create uncertainty for Salvadoran immigrants. Number 3. India has become a significant source of illegal immigration to the U.S., with around 725,000 undocumented Indian immigrants residing in the country as of 2022. This number has grown rapidly in recent years. Why do they migrate? Unlike Mexican and Salvadoran migrants, Indians have unique reasons for entering the U.S. illegally. Visa barriers. Many Indians struggle to obtain legal visas due to strict rules on education and English proficiency. This pushes some to seek illegal routes. Better job prospects. While generally more financially stable than other migrant groups, many Indians are drawn to the U.S. for higher-paying jobs and improved living conditions. Smuggling networks. Well-organized smuggling rings now help Indians enter the U.S. illegally, charging massive fees, sometimes over $100,000 per person. Who are these migrants? Most undocumented Indian migrants are young men aged 18 to 34. Unlike other groups fleeing violence or extreme poverty, their migration is often driven by the dream of a better economic future. Number 4. Guatemala has a long history of migration to the U.S., often triggered by political unrest and economic struggles. By 2022, around 675,000 Guatemalans were living in the U.S. without legal status. Over the years, this number has steadily increased, fueled by poverty, violence, and instability back home. Why do so many Guatemalans migrate? Several major challenges push Guatemalans to seek a better life in the U.S. Widespread violence. Guatemala suffers from extreme gang violence, domestic abuse, and one of the highest homicide rates in the world. Many people flee simply to stay alive. Severe poverty. a large percentage of Guatemalans struggle with unemployment and lack access to education and jobs. The U.S. offers them the hope of financial stability, a young and determined population. Guatemalan immigrants in the U.S. are predominantly young and male, with 57% being men between the ages of 18 and 65. A large number migrate to reunite with family members who have already settled in the U.S., hoping to build a better future together. The dangerous journey north. The trek from Guatemala to the U.S. is filled with dangers. Migrants often face robbery, extortion, and brutal attacks from criminal organizations. Women are particularly vulnerable to sexual violence. Yet, despite these terrifying risks, thousands make the journey each year, clinging to the hope of a brighter future. The harsh reality in the U.S. Once in the U.S., many Guatemalans live in constant fear due to their undocumented status. They often work low-paying jobs with no legal protections, making them vulnerable to exploitation and deportation. Their lack of legal status also limits access to healthcare, education, and other essential services. A surge in migration. Guatemalan migration has skyrocketed in recent years. Between 2020 and 2022, arrivals at the U.S. border increased fivefold, with 233,000 Guatemalans crossing in 2022 alone. This surge highlights the worsening conditions in Guatemala, forcing thousands to flee in search of safety and opportunity. Number 5. Venezuela. Deepening crisis has triggered a massive wave of migration in recent years. By 2022, an estimated 270,000 Venezuelans were living in the U.S. without legal status. This number has surged as worsening conditions push more Venezuelans to seek safety and stability abroad. Why are Venezuelans fleeing? Political chaos. Since 2013, Venezuela has been in turmoil with massive protests against the government. Many people risk persecution, arrest, or violence simply for speaking out. Economic collapse. Hyperinflation has destroyed Venezuela's economy, leading to severe poverty and shortages of food, medicine, and basic supplies. With little hope for recovery, many flee to find a livable income and stable future. Human rights abuses. Widespread government oppression and violence have forced many Venezuelans to escape in search of freedom and security. Who are the migrants? Most Venezuelan migrants are young professionals with higher education who once held good jobs. However, with the economic crisis making it impossible to survive, they now seek better opportunities in foreign lands. A dangerous path to the U.S. Reaching the U.S. is not easy. Many Venezuelans journey through Colombia and Central America, often taking dangerous routes and facing threats from criminal gangs, extortion, and harsh conditions. The struggle for legal status. Once in the U.S., Venezuelans must navigate a complex immigration system. Some qualify for temporary protected status, which allows them to stay legally. However, many remain undocumented due to strict immigration policies and limited legal pathways. Number 6. The Philippines. For over a century, Filipinos have been migrating to the U.S., with major waves of immigration shaping communities across the country. By 2021, nearly 2 million Filipinos were living in the U.S., making them one of the largest immigrant groups. Among them, an estimated 310,000 are undocumented. Why do Filipinos migrate illegally? Chasing better jobs. The Philippines faces high unemployment and underemployment, pushing many to seek higher wages and stable jobs in the U.S. Family reunification. Many Filipinos migrate to join relatives already living in the U.S., making family ties a strong driving force behind migration. Education and career goals. Many aspire to higher education and professional success, but strict visa policies make legal entry difficult, forcing some to overstay visas or find other ways in. The risky journey to the U.S. Reaching the U.S. is not always straightforward. Many arrive on temporary visas, but overstay due to economic struggles or family reasons. Others turn to smuggling networks, which charge huge fees and involve dangerous crossings. Who are the undocumented Filipinos? This group includes young workers, families, and even children. Many settle in states with large Filipino communities like California, Texas, and Hawaii. The struggles of undocumented life. Fear of deportation. Living without legal status means constant anxiety and uncertainty. Limited access to services. Many struggle to get health care, education, and other basic needs. Workplace exploitation. Low-wage jobs, unfair treatment, and no legal protections make undocumented workers vulnerable to abuse by employers. Number 7. China. In recent years, China has become a major contributor to undocumented immigration in the U.S. Today, an estimated 400,000 undocumented Chinese immigrants live in the country. This growing number reflects the increasing challenges that push many Chinese nationals to seek a new life abroad. Why do many Chinese immigrants enter illegally? Escaping political repression. Many flee government control and human rights abuses. Those who speak out against the regime or push for democracy often face harsh persecution. Economic inequality. Despite China's booming economy, the gap between rich and poor remains wide. Many from rural areas migrate in search of better jobs and a higher quality of life. Pursuing education. Thousands come as students, but some overstay their visas due to challenges back home or the difficulty of finding good jobs in China. The dangerous journey to the U.S. The journey isn't easy. Many travel through multiple countries before reaching the U.S. Some enter legally on tourist or student visas, but later become undocumented by overstaying. Others risk their lives using smuggling networks, paying huge sums to cross into the country illegally. Who are the undocumented Chinese immigrants? This group is diverse, but many are young professionals and students looking for better opportunities. Most settle in major cities like New York and Los Angeles, where strong Chinese communities provide support. The harsh reality of undocumented life. Fear of deportation. Many live in constant fear, avoiding authorities and hesitating to seek help or report crimes. Limited access to basic needs. Without legal status, many struggle to get healthcare and education. Exploitation in the workplace. Low-paying jobs, long hours, and no worker protections make undocumented Chinese immigrants vulnerable to abuse. Number 8. Colombia. Over the years, Colombia has experienced a steady flow of migration to the U.S., especially during the late 20th century, when political violence and economic struggles pushed many to leave. As of 2022, nearly 130,000 undocumented Colombians were living in the United States, a number that continues to rise as more people seek a better and safer future. What's driving Colombians to migrate illegally? Escaping violence. For decades, Colombia has faced brutal conflicts involving guerrilla fighters, paramilitary groups, and drug cartels. This endless violence has forced millions to flee their homeland. Economic struggles. High unemployment and extreme poverty make survival difficult. Corruption and poor leadership have only made the situation worse, leaving many with no choice but to seek work abroad. Political instability. Government corruption and political uncertainty continue to push many Colombians to leave, hoping for a safer, more stable life elsewhere. Who are the undocumented Colombians in the U.S.? The Colombian immigrant population is a mix of young professionals, struggling families, and individuals escaping violence. Most settle in big cities like New York, Miami, and Los Angeles, where strong Colombian communities offer support. A risky journey to the U.S. The road to the U.S. is often dangerous. Some enter legally on tourist or temporary visas, but later overstay due to financial struggles or family commitments. Others take riskier routes, relying on smuggling networks that demand huge payments and expose them to dangerous conditions. The harsh reality for undocumented Colombians. Living in fear. The constant threat of deportation leaves many in a state of anxiety, afraid to seek help or speak out. Limited access to basic needs. Without legal status, many struggle to access healthcare, education, and social services. Workplace exploitation. Long hours, low wages, and no legal protections make undocumented Colombians easy targets for unfair treatment by employers. Number 9. Brazil has become a significant source of undocumented immigration to the United States. As of recent estimates, approximately 200,000 Brazilians are living in the U.S. without legal status. This number is steadily rising as more Brazilians flee socioeconomic challenges at home, seeking a safer and better future. Why are Brazilians migrating illegally? Several reasons are driving Brazilians to seek a new life in the U.S. Economic struggles. While Brazil is one of the largest economies in South America, high unemployment and inflation make it difficult for many to thrive. As a result, many people are searching for better work and financial opportunities abroad. Political unrest. Political instability has rocked Brazil in recent years, with widespread protests and public dissatisfaction with government policies. Many Brazilians are leaving in search of stability and safety. Social issues. High crime rates and social inequality push many to seek a better life elsewhere, away from dangerous conditions and the struggle for basic resources. Who are the undocumented Brazilian immigrants? The undocumented Brazilian immigrant population is made up of young adults, families, and workers hoping for better opportunities. Many of them settle in areas with large Brazilian communities, such as Florida, Massachusetts, and California, where they can find support and familiar connections. The journey from Brazil to the U.S. can be complicated and dangerous. Many migrants begin their travels on tourist or student visas, only to overstay their permits when they face hardships back home. Others may choose illegal routes, relying on smuggling networks that charge high fees and expose migrants to great risks along the way. The struggles of undocumented Brazilians. Living in fear. Many undocumented Brazilians live under the constant threat of deportation, creating a climate of fear that makes it hard for them to seek help or report crimes. Lack of access to resources. Without legal status, many are unable to access healthcare and education, further limiting their chances for a better life. Workplace exploitation. Many undocumented Brazilian workers end up in low-wage jobs with no legal protections, making them vulnerable to abuse and exploitation by employers. Number 10. Dominican Republic. The Dominican Republic has a rich history of migration to the United States, especially since the 1980s. As of recent estimates, approximately 164,000 undocumented Dominicans are living in the U.S., making up about 1% of the total undocumented immigrant population. The Dominican community is one of the largest Caribbean immigrant groups, with many seeking better economic opportunities and a safe haven from political instability. Why do Dominicans migrate? Several factors drive Dominican migration to the U.S. Economic struggles. The Dominican Republic faces high unemployment rates and widespread poverty, pushing many to leave in search of better job opportunities and higher wages. Political instability. Political turmoil and corruption have long plagued the Dominican Republic, leading many to seek stability and safety in the U.S. The country's problems are worsened by government mismanagement and social unrest, prompting many to migrate. Family reunification. Family ties are crucial in Dominican migration. Many undocumented Dominicans have relatives already living in the U.S., which encourages further migration as they seek to reunite with loved ones. Who are the Dominican immigrants? The Dominican immigrant population is diverse, with a mix of young professionals, families, and individuals seeking safety and better opportunities. Many are drawn to urban areas like New York City, Miami, and Boston, where large Dominican communities offer support networks. The risky journey to the U.S. The journey from the Dominican Republic to the U.S. is not easy. Many undocumented Dominicans begin their travels with temporary visas, only to overstay them due to economic struggles or family reasons. Others take more dangerous paths, using smuggling networks that charge high fees and expose migrants to great risks. Challenges faced by undocumented Dominicans in the U.S. Fear of deportation. The constant threat of deportation creates a life of uncertainty and anxiety for many undocumented Dominicans. Limited access to services. Without legal status, many cannot access healthcare or education for their children, making it hard to improve their lives. Workplace exploitation. Many undocumented Dominicans end up in low-wage jobs without any legal protections, making them vulnerable to exploitation and abuse by employers. The journey of undocumented immigrants is filled with challenges and resilience. If you found this story insightful, don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment below. Your support means a lot. Thanks for watching and staying engaged.